go to masterclass.com/on3 for up to 50% off. They always do good deals around the holidays. Now's the time. You can get a subscription and have access to their entire library. Masterclass.com/on3. This is your Masterclass pick of the week. The Boise State Penn State game in the Fiesta Bowl. Oh boy, Ari. So the last time we saw Boise State was way back in the Mountain West Championship game. We obviously saw Penn State crush SMU last week. This is the one where we said Penn State loses to Oregon. We see the bracket. We're like, oh, Penn State's got the easiest path into the semis. I don't think it's that easy. Look, Penn State's a 10.5-point favorite in this game. But Boise State plays a style that does not lend itself to meltdowns. So I don't think you will see them just hand them the game the way SMU did. I think they will be fighting the entire way. They will be in it the entire way. And the question will be, when a team with really talented front seven sells out and loads the box to stop Ashton Jeanty, what does that look like? Now, we actually have seen that before with the number one team in the country, Oregon. And guess what? They didn't stop him. He averaged 7.7 yards a carry against them.
Did they, I need to go back and watch that game because it's been 3 months, but did they sell out to stop the run, or had the legend of Ashton Jeanty started by then?
Oh, they knew. He scored 6 touchdowns against Georgia Southern week before.
Yeah, I mean, they knew.
They watched tape at Oregon. Like they weren't sitting there going, we're going to sit back in case Maddox Madsen goes off on us.
Let me ask you this. Does Boise have anything that can beat Penn State that's not Ashton Jeanty?
Yes, but it's not on offense. Boise State's defense, second in the nation in sacks, per game. So they average 4 sacks a game. You're getting pressure. It means you're potentially forcing turnovers. It means you're causing negative plays. It means you're killing drives. That is the other thing besides Ashton Jeanty. That's the other thing that gives them a chance. Now,
so a Penn State meltdown.
Causing a Penn State. And it doesn't even have to be a meltdown because, like I said, I don't think Boise State will melt down. I think Boise State will just kind of be, even keel, don't make a lot of mistakes. The problem Boise State will have is if Penn State is stopping Ashton Jeanty, because remember, Ashton Jeanty after contact was probably the second leading rusher in the country this year.
Mm-hmm.
If Ashton Jeanty after contact is not having a great game, so if he's not like his line, their offensive line is not that great. So Ashton Jeanty gets the ball, he goes 2 yards and he gets hit. Now what he usually does is goes 5 more yards after he gets hit. But if he only goes 1 more yard after he gets hit, Boise State's in trouble.
Yeah. So multifaceted thoughts on this. One, does the Fiesta Bowl magic mean anything to you? Does the fact that Boise State is appropriately returning to Glendale mean anything to you?
It does to me because I was there for the Oklahoma game. I was there. I watched like that. That was they were dead. Okay. For those who didn't watch the whole Boise State Oklahoma game, this was after the 2006 season, January 1st, 2007. Boise State was kicking the crap out of Oklahoma for 2.5 quarters. Like we were like, this Oklahoma must be embarrassed. And remember, this wasn't a particularly great Oklahoma team. Adrian Peterson was on this team, but he was hurt most of that season. And we were like, oh, Boise State's going to run away with this. And then Oklahoma comes back. And all of a sudden, Oklahoma is winning, and Boise State is in an impossible situation. They had a 4th and 18. So the hook and lateral play was on 4th and 18.
Oh, I remember.
It's miraculous. and then of course you had what happened in overtime. Do you remember what happened the first play of overtime in that game? Because Oklahoma got the ball first.
I don't. Remind me.
25-yard Adrian Peterson touchdown run.
Oh,
it was like, oh, this is over. There's no way. This is done.
Yeah. I remember the highlights of it, but that would be a good rewatchables.
Oh my God. It was so amazing. It was incredible. So, Now, Penn State, as Steven pointed out in the chat, is also undefeated in the Fiesta Bowl. Like one of Penn State's greatest victories against Miami after the 1986 season in the Fiesta Bowl, where they just came out and thumped what everybody thought was the national championship team, and then Penn State is the national champ. So I think this could be a lot of fun as long as Boise State doesn't make mistakes. Now, we just showed Drew Allar on screen, and I think he's a big key to this because I don't know about you, Ari. My opinion of Drew Allar has changed quite a bit in the last few games of the season. It was happening before the Big Ten championship game, but the Drew Allar we saw in the Big Ten championship game and the one we've seen through the end of the season, like he's a much better athlete, I think, than I realized. And when he scrambles and keeps some plays alive, like he's very tough to deal with when he's just not like, because before it felt like he was totally risk averse. He wouldn't take any chances. He wouldn't throw the ball down the field. And I feel like he's gotten confident. So he's throwing the ball down the field more, but also if you get some pressure on him, he can squeak out of there. And then he is going for a while.
Yeah. So I've got two concerns, one for each team, Andy. One is we've analyzed this Penn State game or this Penn State team all year. They don't have great receivers. So is that going to show up at some point?
Yeah. I think Harrison Wallace he's improved. So
but I don't know if
better as season's gone on.
I don't know if I'm 100% convinced that Penn State's offense is just fixed. Okay, so if you have a really good defensive performance against Penn State, like they struggle to score, and frankly speaking, it's not like their offense lit up SMU. SMU donated a ton of field position points in that game.
There's there was a point in this. There's a point in the second quarter where it really should have been 14-7 SMU, and instead it was, what was it, 14-0 or 14-3?
It was 14-0, and there was a certain point where the game could have been tied late in the game, or SMU could have been winning, because the swing happened too when SMU was in the edge of the red zone.
You don't need to know everything there is to know about sports in order to win at sports betting.
Stop betting blind. Learn how to beat the odds from our team of sharps.
As long as there have been sports, there have been people betting on them.
This is not luck. It's good strategy, and we're going to show you how.
If you're going to get emotional, don't bet against your home team.
Never overbet your bankroll. You need to be comfortable with the amount that you bet.
An edge is simply having an advantage over the sportsbook.
You might find 16 sports books that have the Boston Celtics at 12-1 to win the championship. And then there might be one that's offering 16-1. They may have just made a mistake.
Find the best price. It can't be simpler.
Find those easy edges and then turn them into profits. The average bettor likes to bet on the favorites and the overs because they like to see things happen.
Betting against things happening is where there's historically been a lot more value.
Learn about
bankroll management, prop bets,
the difference between the point spread and the money line,
top-down betting,
handicapping.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
I'm Rob Pizzola,
Nick Kostos,
Captain Jack Andrews,
Gina Fiore,
Rufus Peabody.
I'm Joe Fortenbaugh, and this is MasterClass.
That is the MasterClass sports betting class. They have classes that can help you in every aspect of your life.
But then the other major concern I have is that we've seen a lot of really good running backs in the sport in the past. We have seen them a ton. And when they play another team that's got really good front seven and sells out, it's hard to beat another team with just a running back. So if you don't think that they have anything else offensively, like I just kind of feel like this is going to be a physical mauling in the way that we've seen Georgia do to teams in the past, because usually when Georgia plays teams in the playoff, the talent gap overall is akin to what you would see in this Penn State Boise game. And I just don't know that Boise has enough, even with Jeanty, to get there.
So I see people in the chat saying, fix the audio, fix the audio. We can't tell if there's anything going on with the audio. It had been going fine. So if there is, let us know. And what we'll do is we'll continue with the show because we can't stop it now, but we'll put the clips out later with the better audio. But I see some folks saying the audio is fine, so we will power
and usually
on.
when it's not going well, you and I can tell. Like I hear you completely fine. So
it might be a StreamYard issue where they're saying some of the audio is skipping. So, but don't worry, we will also have clips up of the show where we'll use the clean feed that we get locally. So we'll take care of you on this one. But this is going to be a very interesting game, I think. And so part of me, and I'm going to tell you who I'm picking right now. I'm picking Boise State. I'm picking Boise State in this game. Money line.
What?
Money line. Because something interesting has to happen at some point in this tournament.
This isn't basketball, Andy.
Something interesting has to happen at some point in this tournament.
No,
and this is the one. Maybe it's me being sentimental about the Fiesta Bowl magic. Or maybe it's me saying the style of play here suggests that they're not going to just hand the ball to Penn State over and over and let Penn State control the game. But that's why.
I push back at the sentiment that something crazy has to happen because we're accustomed to something crazy has to happen in the basketball tournament, and this just is not basketball. So, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not going into it. Like when you fill out a bracket for basketball at the beginning of the tournament, you just sometimes just pick some grab-ass matchup of a 12-5 game or whatever because it happens every year, and there's no real analysis other than like it happens every year, so it's going to happen this year. Like this is the first go of it, and all the favorites won by $1 million in the first round. I feel like that's because it's football. So, I'm going to go with Penn State covering in this game. We are on polar opposite sides of what we are with this.
So this again is our MasterClass pick of the week. So we'll give, if you take that MasterClass sports betting class, you'll learn something. So Raymond asked in the chat, is money line same as points? No, money line means I'm picking Boise State to win outright. And in this particular case, in this particular case, that means you would win more if you win because
it 3-1?
They are right. They are a double. It is plus 330.
Yep.
So if you bet 100 on Boise State on the money line to win, you would win $330. Is how that works.
Because you're not taking the points. You're just taking a dog to win straight up, and not just a dog, a pretty massive dog. So right. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty you're putting yourself out there on this, Andy. Like
I know, and I it's not. I was looking at all of these games, and I just believe something crazy is going to happen. I don't see something crazy happening in Arizona State, Texas, and then the other two games, the teams are too evenly matched for anything to be crazy, for any one result to be crazy. This is one where Boise State does not make a lot of mistakes, like historically and this season. They're very well coached. Like they just do what they're supposed to do. And the lack of meltdown, like with SMU, you had seen them do it against Clemson in the ACC championship game where they started that slowly. And we said, if they start slowly, they will dig a hole that Penn State will never let them come out of. I don't think Boise State will dig themselves a hole. I think they will make sure this is competitive and give themselves a chance in the second half.
When Georgia played, like when Georgia was Georgia and they played teams in the past, like from the Big 12 or whatever, they had a talent advantage that was palpable and eventually showed itself. And I understand that we are in the portal era and the NIL era, but the talent advantage, I think, from a top to bottom standpoint in any of these games, maybe not also in Texas and Arizona State, but this one in particular is pretty lopsided. And I know that we don't analyze games based on talent anymore because you're not allowed to in the NIL era. But Penn State is going to boa constrictor them in this game. I guarantee it. I'm going to take Penn State, and I'm going to lay the points.
Guaranteed. Ari's lead pipe lock of the week.
I think that Ashton Jeanty can rush for 130 yards, and they could lose 34-17.
So
this is on the table.
This is let Michael Jordan score 36 and control Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc.
And listen, I got a warning in the chat. Be careful. Boise State fans can be relentless. It's like, I know. I'm just picking a game here. If I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt, I would take every single thing I've ever owned. State has a rather
large fan base that gets online. It's actually online Boise too. Stinks. It's fine.
I just don't know if they have enough from top to bottom to exist in this game.
Right.
And like the difference between this game and the Fiesta Bowl was the last Fiesta Bowl that they played in, or the one that we referenced, is that it means something, and both teams are really, really, really amped up to win. So
Vance in the chat, didn't we say the same thing about Ohio State, Michigan?
I don't think that the talent advantage in that game, especially on Michigan's defense, like they've got one really, really great player, and they've got some other nice pieces, but like Penn State has 15 draft picks on their team. Like it's still a G5 program, and maybe I'm underestimating them. Okay. And if you're right, and Boise comes out, like throw stuff at me, throw eggs at me. I don't know. But like,
I'm not going to throw anything at you. I'm going to laugh and point and be like, told you so.
Yeah, you're an idiot. You're a dumbass.
But you also listen, Boise State's a double-digit dog. Like there's probably a higher likelihood of you saying that to me after this thing. So
I'm not going to make fun of you because you're the one who actually like put yourself out there. And I feel
like my reasoning is sound for this. Like it's not, yes, I said something has to happen, but I picked, if Boise State was a team that was kind of boom or bust, that had a quarterback that took tons of chances, like I don't think I'd be picking this. I think I'd be saying no, the two double-digit spread games are going to be blowouts, and that's all. But I'm just not. I don't feel that way. So
yeah, but and if you're right, James Franklin should just drive home from Phoenix.
God, I don't listen. That discourse, I don't even want to think about that right now because, like we were talking about earlier in the show, the guy just gets piled on by everyone.
If they lose to Boise as an 11-point favorite, it would be an absolute freaking disaster for him.
Yeah. We'll have plenty to talk about next week if that happens.
I know you're trying to move the show along, but like, the reward for Penn State for being the 6th seed was the easiest path to the semis, right?
Yeah.
But when you make a deal with the devil,
that's right.
There's another side to this, which is if you don't advance to the semis, it's the worst possible outcome for James Franklin. So.
There's always a price. There's always a price.